You know what they say in vaudeville, never follow an animal or a child act. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Oh, I know, with story time. Who likes a story? Oh, what have we here? It's a storybook. Oh, I've got on my jammies. I've got on my bunny slippers. Oh, George Washington. Oh, fascinating character. I'm sure he's done all sorts of interesting things if they wrote a book about him. Wow. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, look, it's a unicorn. See, he's riding a unicorn. And the caption says, as a child, Washington breaks a unicorn. He thereafter rides towards battle and glory. Hey, some guy. What a character. What else do we have in here? Oh, look at this. Can everybody see that right there? Oh, it said, the brave and clever young Washington, the caption reads, dissuades his mother from tossing his little sister into the fire. So he is also noble in character. Well, what else do we have here? Okay. Here's one. This looks studious and reflective. And the caption reads, by candlelight, Washington indulges a lifelong hobby of writing epitaphs for people he doesn't like. I think that's a good one. Oh, let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, here's a story. You guys ready for a story? Is everybody cozy? Is everybody in their jammies? I'm in my jammies. I would like to introduce to the stage now, to accompany me for story time, Miss Lady C. Oh, Courtney, you've got on your jammies too. Oh, this is going to be lovely. Yes. Oh, what else do we have here? Oh, this is a good one. See what's happening right there? The caption reads, by the power of his unicorn's horn, Washington clears the forest so it may be tilled and bountiful. In gratitude, settlers provide him with children he may consume to maintain his immortality. I gotta meet this guy. He's something else. Immortal, noble, probably handsome. Shall we? Okay. Here's a story for you boys and girls. Matty the monkey with the candy happy grin. When the war ended, Matty was amazed that he still had both hands. He could barely take a breath before he got back stateside and put those lucky fellas all over his hot dish of a wife. Pearl knew he was coming home, but decided she was strong enough in character to keep her new man around, just so Matty understood she had a mind of her own. Well, Matty let himself into their house, which he hadn't seen in 3 hard years, wearing a candy-happy grin and a canvas bag over his shoulder, jammed tight with presents for Pearl, trinkets, jewelry, and several soft little candy-happy animals. Matty first noticed the new radio, then the fancy new armchair. Well, that wasn't there before. He walked through the house with reverence, a clear-headed awe for the sweet hipped magician that made this house a home. Oh, if he wasn't going to walk barefoot on these floors as often as possible. Well, how proper and sublime a house could be without shattered window panes and ashes tragically weathered into the carpet like those wrecks he had to camp in during the war. Matty had a meeting with that fool maker, Pride, on his way down the hall. Pride was dressed like an officer and had a pretty wife on his arm. They both stood in front of the most discreet, proper little house that the angel who puts hope in a man's heart could imagine. The vision was framed between Matty's eyelashes, so when he blinked, Pride winked right back at him, thinking, what a sucker, and made Matty wonder what was in his head. Matty stopped in at the bathroom to wash his face before Pearl got a look at him, and noticed more fresh new things. The throw rug was clean and bright like no one had ever stepped on it, beside his wife and the angel who gave her the idea to put it there. He opened the shower curtain wide and met with Pride again. lathering precisely like the army taught him to, remembering the day before in paradise and anticipating another in the business of bliss-making. A pride winked at Maddie and drew the curtains back together. Well, they were new too, with frogs parachuting down them. Who thinks these things up? In the front room, a Jimmy Durante tune started up on that new radio. It was a lovelorn song with violins crying for Jimmy because he couldn't cry for himself. And Maddie turned down the hallway to switch the music before it ruined his mood. But just as Maddie thought, what an awful song, another voice spoke from the next room, saying out loud just what Maddie was thinking. The voice couldn't be Pride because Pride walked beside Maddie. And it wasn't the voice of Pearl, the sweet-hipped magician casting her perfect little spells. When Maddie entered the living room, he saw a man half-naked kneeling in front of the new radio and dialing a more proper tune. That man, he was new, and Pearl, who stood right next to him, had red hair. That was new too. She'd always been brunette, the tint of a bedroom at sunset when it's been made love in all day long. Now her hair burned around her face, incendiary like a village on fire. Maddie lost track of what he felt about all the newness. It occurred to him what Pride had been thinking when he winked, and what a candy-happy grin really meant. It's the smile of the baby and the mind blown, the senseless, the gullible, the taken. Maddie found his soldier's face again, the matter-of-fact oblivion, and turned away from Pride to look directly into the fearsome glory hole of man's brotherhood, the hot place where a person's meaning is melted down with the bloodthirsty purpose of every other human being. It put the ashes into the carpet he mistook for faultless. Pearl made a monkey out of Maddie, the veteran soldier who just got back from a war where he killed more people than you even saw today, had the opportunity to finally murder some people he thought deserved it. Why pass up the chance of a lifetime? Thank you. Oh, look. An honest young Washington digs an honest hole. What else do we have in here? Let's see. Oh, here's one. You want to press that disco button? Yeah. Press that disco button. And now I'm going to do what every man on the street corner does who goes into a rant. And that is rant with disco music. You know what's happening. Sometimes it's just him who can hear it. This is a tone on cryptozoological morphism and beatific pretenders. Within the animal kingdom, there are pretenders to taxonomy. It is not at all uncommon for a goat to detach the wings from a deceased stork, spit honey onto them, and affix the wings to his back, thereafter claiming to be a phenomenon. The goat speaks in riddles he won't supply answers to and prophesies mundane events which inevitably come to pass, such as the baker will let fall his butter and blaspheme the Lord. At some point, somewhere, a baker will drop his butter and utter Jesus, so lending the goat's prediction a Delphic importance. What is the result? The goat feels special, and convinced idiots are given the opportunity to express themselves, which they invariably appreciate. Now, rabbits are wont to fashion little hooves for themselves. To what purpose, I have no idea. But privilege may come to the garden snail who glues a glass eye to his shell. It is not as unusual as you would expect for a squirrel to shave his tail, apply mascara, and join a thieving gang of rats. Rats being far wealthier than their meek arboreal cousins. However, lines can be crossed. And the motives of the beatific pretenders are seldom so transparent as simple material greed. For instance, I once witnessed a merciless contest between a lion and an eagle. When a trickster of a griffin perched nearby, the griffin seemed to clearly understand his presence would foment envy in the notoriously egotistical pair. All the lion could think of was getting the eagle's wings, and the foremost desire of the eagle was to attain the lion's head. The contest shortly devolved into one between charismatics, The lion outdanced the eagle, who responded by launching into the lion's mane and sheared with his beak a relief of himself behind the lion's ear where the lion will never see it. Feeling satisfied by his prank, the griffin alighted, followed by the eyes of two homicidally jealous beasts who were never content to be themselves again. Which brings me to my point. The ancient rivalry the mule feels toward the unicorn. Some mules suffer from a unique combination of self-hate and high delusion. It is my belief that this stems from concluding their stout figure will never suit an evening dress, a reasonable conclusion, but unworthy of the gravity they attach to it. Now, the inconceivable envy they feel towards the unicorn produces fantastic quantities of energy, which, when focused, will cause growths similar in size and texture to wasp nest to sprout on the mule's head, which confuses things by resembling horns, and so adding a unicorn delusions to unicorn envy. Now, these growths, they never form in the right place, a fact which doesn't dissuade the mule, but sometimes under the eye or from the side of the nose. Now, the mule interprets the growth as evidence of his beatific nature, and if you mention the unlikeliness of this, you will either be patiently re-educated or the target of an irate and utterly insane mule. Whatever the result of the argument, you will never, ever, ever convince the mule he is not a unicorn. Now, a true unicorn enjoys unmistakable attributes if you know what to look for. For example, at the very tip of his horn exists a minuscule black hole. If you don't believe me, you try this experiment next time you encounter a unicorn. Toss an orange over his head. It will vanish. 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 Well, it has been postulated that the vortex is a remnant of his celestial origin and protects the head, the heart and the head being the only points of weakness a unicorn possesses. Also, unicorns cast rainbows in place of shadows. They've managed to combine properties of the prism with animal flesh, a miraculous fact which, among other things, gives them the right to be called beatific creatures. In a further brilliant step, unicorns are capable of treading those varicolored shadows as if solid ground, and on a clear bright day can ascend on them as far as the lower cloud strata. Now match these facts with their famously magical disposition, and it becomes clear how a mule could never be mistaken for a unicorn, unless the winged goat proclaims him to be so, and you are inclined to believe it. The bunnies believe me. Oh, thank you. Aren't we having fun? My manifesto's next. Oh, here we go. Is that right there? See, George Washington's riding a unicorn. There's a horn that I drew on it because they forgot to put that on there. You might not be able to. Oh, it's there. Oh, it's there. A generous and noble youth, Washington allows his playmates to think they might win the contest before his unicorn casts her rainbow and the two gallop into the sky, demonstrating to all his true and natural power. How about something sweet, Lady C? The oyster and the leaf. On a cliff rising from the sea grew a vine. A leaf fell off that vine and into the ocean below, where she drifted on the current until she bobbed against the cliff and could go no farther. Beneath her on the sea floor was an oyster. The leaf resembled another shellfish to him, although he'd never met one of his kind who lived on the water's surface. After a bit of time ran away, the oyster grew to adore the leaf and asked her to join him, for he could not swim to her. She rose and dipped with the waves as if affirming her love. So he waited and waited, and at last he said, "If you come to me, I'll give you a jewel." "All right," he thought she replied. but she did not descend. The oyster then suggested he send the jewel to her, and if she thought it was beautiful, perhaps she would come soon. Well, he opened his mouth, and he spit the pearl up through the water with such will that it cleared the waves and was snatched by a pelican. This pelican flew to a cloud plateau to examine his catch, and when he saw the pearl was not a fish, he tossed it over his shoulder, and it became caught in the sky. It is still there today. We call it the first star, but whatever name it is given, it remembers where it came from and for what reason fortune called it out of the sea. The pearl appears when there is still enough light to see who is kissing who and remembers everything. That's why if you blow a kiss or whisper a secret to the pearl, it knows where to take the message, no matter how far one lover is from another. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was story time. Lady C. Why is there a condom on the stage? Kitty! Here, I'll autograph that for you later. Oh boy. Speaking of condoms on the stage, wait till you